Well, we are less than a month away from tax day, and if you haven't filed yet, we're going to go over some of the changes for 2009 and some of the deductions that you may overlook this year. Joining us today is Ted Lanzaro, a certified public accountant with his own firm in Shelton. Ted, good having you on the program.
Thank you for having me here. That's great. Thank you.
Were there a lot of changes in the 2009 tax code?
Yeah, it seems like every year there's been a lot of changes, and there's some new stuff this year that we definitely should talk about.
Yeah, let's go through some of those changes. Something called the Making Work Pay Credit that people are forgetting that they might be able to claim. What is that?
Yeah, Making Work Pay Credit is something that came out of some legislation last year that was set up to help people make ends meet. So they they took less withholding out of your paycheck if you were an employee, and now this credit is designed to make up for the fact that you've got lower withholding from last year, and it's up to $800 for married couples, $400 if you're single, and it's basically 6.2% of your earned income.
All right, so there's a line on the tax form that will reference this?
Absolutely,
so
yes.
Don't skip that.
Don't skip that, right.
Okay, and it's a credit, too. We should go over that, the difference between a credit and a deduction.
Yeah, a credit is a direct reduction of your tax liability. A deduction is a deduction from your income that to where you get to taxable income, at which point your tax is calculated from that. But a credit is once you've calculated the tax, that comes right off that amount that you owe. All
right. There's something having to do with real estate tax deductions for people who don't itemize. Now, what's the distinction there between itemizing and not itemizing and the write-offs to real estate taxes?
In order to itemize, you have to have a certain amount of deductions, okay? So you get what's called a standard deduction, okay? And if you have more expenses than that standard deduction, then you're allowed to itemize, okay? But if you don't, you're still entitled to deduct the real estate taxes that you pay this year. That's something new.
Mm-hmm. Also, if you made contributions, you donated money to Haiti. That was 2010.
Right, exactly.
But there are changes on that because you can take that back to 2009.
Right, you're able to take those deductions and bring them back into your 2009 return. Normally, you would only take charitable deductions that you actually paid in 2009. But for the Haiti deductions, you're allowed to bring the ones you made in 2010 back to your 2009 return. So that's a break that they're giving you to encourage donation.
I know the government's really cracking down on charitable donations in terms of documentation and making sure that you can prove, if you're audited, that you did make those contributions.
Right.
And we were talking a moment ago, many of the fundraisers for Haiti were asking you to just text your donation, text 995, whatever.
Yeah.
How would you prove that to the federal government to the IRS if you were audited?
Right, well, you would have your cell phone bill.
Okay.
Or your phone bill where you texted from, and that should be sufficient documentation for that.
All right, one of the big tax credits for 2009, the first-time homebuyer credit, going away this year, but at least as it's scheduled right now.
Yeah, well, and it's what's keeping the real estate market kind of pumped up. So if you're a first-time homebuyer or something new, someone who's been in their house 5 consecutive years out of the last 8 years, you're allowed to get this homebuyer's credit as long as you are under contract by April 30th, or you might have bought a home in 2009, or if you haven't but you want to, you have to be under contract by April 30th, and you have to close June 30th in 2010.
Oh, so that goes back to 2009. You don't have to take that in 2010 if you took advantage of it in 2010.
If you bought a house in 2010, you have until April 30th to take advantage of that for 2010.
Okay, for 2010 filing, but if you did it in 2009, you could take that claim in 2009.
Take it in 2009, right.
All right, let's talk about some of the typically missed deductions. Mortgage insurance premiums.
Yeah, that's a big one.
People miss that?
Yeah, because you know what? The mortgage insurance premiums, that's a relatively new thing, so people aren't used to normally taking that. And I mean, people are always thinking, oh, mortgage interest, real estate taxes, but mortgage insurance premiums, relatively new deduction. Yeah.
Take advantage of that one.
Yeah, absolutely.
Your automobile taxes, you can write those off as well.
Yeah, the ones that you pay to your town, the local taxes, those are deductible if you itemize your taxes. Yeah.
Okay. Also, home office. This is a little bit of a tricky one, isn't it?
Home office is only tricky from the standpoint that you have to have a legitimate purpose for your office. This has to be your sole place of work where you actually meet with clients and customers. You can't have an outside office, say here at Channel 12, and then declare
have a small office at home.
Right.
In other words, so if this is what's tricky for so many telecommuters, because they spend 3 days a week in an office, they spend 2 days a week at their home office.
Right.
You can't claim that then?
If they have a regular office that they can go to 3 days a week, then their home office is not deductible. Yeah.
Okay. State of Connecticut has upped taxes, its tax bracket, hasn't it? How has it changed?
Well, it changed because they increased the tax rate for people making over $500,000. So I think the tax rate went from something like 5% to 6% for those people. What they've actually seen is that the income that they're taking in from that is actually going down.
So that's up to 6% for married couples.
Right.
Making over
$500,000.
$500,000, and then singles over $250,000.
Over, and that's exactly right.
All right, Ted, thank you so much. You've given us some good things to look for if we haven't yet filed.
Well, thank you for having me. I was glad to be here.
Okay, and that's all for this week. We'll see you next week on 12 on the Money. I'm Rebecca Surrans.